Stephen Miller and the White House assume that anti-capitalist ideas lead to violent confrontation with their government. Now, are they really wrong about that? Or are they casting a spell by flipping cause and effect? So in this document, NSPM 7, they tell us that under the umbrella term of anti-fascism, anti-capitalism, police abolition, and what they call extremism on race and gender are pre-criminal thought crimes. So here are two key passages which follow a recitation of recent acts of stochastic terror, the vast majority of which is committed by right-wing actors, but put a pin in that. Quote, there are common recurrent motivations and indicia. So this is a fancy legal term that means signs, marks, circumstances that point to something being probable but not actual, uniting this pattern of violent and terroristic activities under the umbrella of self-described anti-fascism. These movements portray foundational American principles like support for law enforcement and border control as fascist to justify and encourage acts of violent revolution. Next passage, quote, common threads animating this violent conduct include anti-Americanism, anti-capitalism, and anti-Christianity, support for the overthrow of the United States government, extremism on migration, race, and gender, and hostility towards those who hold traditional American views on family, religion, and morality. So it's quite an instructive list of all of the things they already hate and are already violent against. Put another pin in that. What is equally instructive is the way in which mainstream opposition to Trumpism responds to stuff like this. Because how people respond to fascism tells us, one, how well they understand fascist logic and violence, and two, how willing they are to fight back. So, okay, there's the legal absurdity of prosecuting people for thought crimes. Fascists figure out how to do that, so let's set that aside. My question is, why do so many people who oppose Trumpism think that Miller is just insane here? Why is the overwhelming response to the accusation that anti-capitalism leads to violence against capitalist structures is to be offended, to say, oh no, not little old me, I'm not thinking about confrontation, I'm just dreaming of a world in which capitalists behave better because I asked them to. I just want the rights of minorities and the dignity of the poor restored. That's not violent, is it? No, it's not. And that's why Stephen Miller has that person over a barrel. You see, he's taking the threat of forceful opposition from the historical left more seriously than a lot of leftists do. And now, is this because, like Steve Bannon, he studied leftist history? Is it because they're assuming that logically anti-capitalism must confront capitalism? Who knows? What's clear is that they're casting a spell against something that hasn't been born. This memo isn't addressing where the resistance to Trump is now. It's preempting that resistance from taking any next organizational step. Now, in a recent Conspirituality podcast episode on this very memo, I personally didn't see this very clearly. I took a kind of Orwellian lens to it, that Miller, under the ruse of protecting American freedom, has issued a Big Brother manifesto to control all thought. But that's kind of an easy take. Is it appropriate to the time? Because when I really dig into the hopeless resignation of 1984, how I feel like Winston Smith slinking back to my apartment from the Ministry of Truth, I realized that Smith was never in the position to fight back. When 1984 opens, Oceania has been established for decades. Control and repression is a factory process there. But we're only 1 year into Trump 2.0. Things are very bad, but the future is still unwritten. So to come back around and underline it, Miller and the White House are saying that harboring anti-capitalist views leads to violence. And again, the question is, in what world is that not already happening as a self-defensive response to capitalism? In what world is capital changed or abolished through the liberal democratic processes that were designed to protect it? In what world does the real anti-capitalist not realize that capital will kill everyone before giving up power? The fascist normalizes their violence. They cut food, medical aid, they disappear people, they blow up boats in the Caribbean. While they are doing that, the fascist points their finger at you and says, don't even think about fighting back or we'll eliminate you too. And because we're legitimately scared, a lot of us are standing there saying, dude, I'm not thinking about it. We're cool. In 1969, Kwame Ture wrote an essay called The Pitfalls of Liberalism, and he said in it, it is not a question of whether it is right to kill or it is wrong to kill. Killing goes on. He was talking about how the oppressor suppresses the use and even the thought of forceful resistance by the oppressed through moral arguments while legitimating violence when it serves their needs. And that's what Miller and the White House are doing here, because they know what real anti-capitalism means. The question is, does the opposition?